The Garden Report is powered by Prize Picks, the exclusive daily fantasy partner of the CLNS Media Network.
Hey, Bobby Manning here. Welcome to a practice edition of the Garden Report. First practice between the first and second rounds here. Josue Pavon on the scene as well. We talked to Al Horford and Peyton Pritchard today, as well as Joe Mazzulla. No opponent yet. Could be decided by tonight's Game 6, though, between the Cavs and Magic in Orlando. That's going to get going at 7 o'clock. Noah and I talked about which opponent you prefer in our last podcast, and I guess the conversation today is more, do you want the series to end tonight? Do you want to just get on to the Cavs and play that Game 1 on Sunday? Or do you want potentially 5 days off here and maybe the Magic to sneak through in a 7th game?
Well, for Porzingis' sake, maybe the latter would be great. But if you ask me, I would love to see the Celtics play the Cleveland Cavaliers. I know that's a tougher opponent, or at least I think they're the tougher opponent. A lot of people think the same. However, I like the sense of seeing the Celtics deal with someone like Donovan Mitchell, if that's what's going to prepare them for someone like Brunson. You know what I mean? Like in the Eastern Conference Finals. Not to get ahead of myself, I get it. The Celtics team has always been, take what's in front of you, take it one game at a time, one play at a time, one quarter at a time, and all that. But just to sort of get them ready for that sort of, and we talked about it before throughout the course of the regular season, when they play against shiftier guards and how they can really dominate against the Celtics. And then when the other guys get going, the supporting cast members, like the Cleveland Cavaliers have, that's when you can really put yourself in a situation to beat the Celtics. So I just want to see how they handle that without Kristaps Porzingis, because if you ask me, we're probably not going to see him in this series. And, that's not the worst thing in the world. You kind of want, if you're the Celtics, to think about things long-term when it comes to Kristaps, and just the way his body responds, I just don't think it's realistic. However, seeing the way they defend a guy like Donovan Mitchell as a team and the rest of the Cavaliers, that intrigues me more than a matchup against the Orlando Magic.
Only other thing I want to get into here, we didn't see Porzingis today, so no real update there. He'll be evaluated next week, as Mazzulla said before Game 5 the other day. The toughness conversation, which Jason Tatum brought up after last game, probably one of my favorite quotes of the year from him. Followed up on that a bunch with Horford, Mazzulla, as well as Pritchard today, so you can check all that out over on the CLNS Media channel. Here was Horford's reaction to that notion that teams can out-tough the Celtics.
I just think that we're consistent, with our approach. We really, try to do the things that we need to do to win, and I just think our play kind of speaks for itself. All year we've been consistent defensively, defending, rebounding, on offense, trying to execute the best that we can. So, I think, just our work kind of speaks for itself.
So he's surprised by it. He doesn't feel like that's a thing. And I think for the other Celtics we've talked to, including Tatum, it's something they've had to develop. And I think there's two sides to it, right? The physicality conversation, which Horford obviously feels like they can meet, and the mental toughness side of things, where they're responding the right way to some of the Heat's antics, probably, I think, goes into that. But also their role any given night. And I feel like Tatum, the last part of the quote that started all of this, doing your job day in and day out, no matter what it is. I feel like that's been a big area of growth in his career, and it's something Pritchard could relate to, too. You only have 2 shots tonight, well, that's how they're guarding you. You have to play to the pass. Tatum had 9 shots in Game 5. I thought it was just a fantastic response by him to the way that he played him throughout the series. And did he play great? No. He has to play much better next series, and he has to get into that scoring mode at a certain point. But the way he passed the ball, rebounded, defended throughout that series, I think made up for what he wasn't giving them from a shooting standpoint.
Yeah, no question. I think that he knew that it was on him. It was his responsibility to do that as the focal point of the Celtics' offense. And when Al answer the question about the whole toughness thing, the way I took it is look, we just passed the big test here, in terms of physical toughness, mental toughness, all of the above. And I think what he means by that is just the way he responded in saying, like, hey, look, like, that's something that we have, whether it's mentally, whether it's Bam Adebayo trying to get his lick back for what happened in Game 4 and how the Al Horford and the rest of the team just didn't respond to that type of energy, or at least not the way that the Miami Heat wanted him to. So I just think that's the way they're looking at it as, look, we're ready to prepare, we're ready for anything, and I think we learned a lot about the Celtics team from what we saw, the way they handled the Miami Heat. Yes, they didn't do it. It wasn't a full sweep. The Miami Heat did get one in Game 2, but the way they responded showed that they how much they've improved in that regard. Whether it's mental toughness, whether it's the physicality, they can play both ways. And to answer, to what Jason Tatum had to say, it's like, man, people's definition of toughness isn't always going to be the loudest guy in the room or the one who's trying to initiate fights. It's the one that can keep their composure, can still focus in those moments of toughness, in those stressful opportunities, stressful battles, and come out victorious. And I think the Celtics proved that in a big way with the way they handled the Miami Heat.
Yeah, Missoula's definition of toughness, it can be a bunch of different things.
Right.
So that was the conversation today at practice. Of course, not much from a matchup perspective to talk about. We will be back here tomorrow afternoon, perhaps with an opponent decided. Otherwise, it's going to be a long wait for Game 1. If the Magic win tonight, Tuesday will be Game 1, and we're sitting here on Thursday, so could be plenty of practices, time off ahead. We'll have to come up with some content here, Josue, to figure out what we're going to do. And I don't know, you ready to reveal your podcast guest who's coming up this week?
Yes, I am. You know what, Bobby? That's a great question. And yes, I am ready. It's Grant Williams, former Celtic Grant Williams. Max and I had an incredible conversation with Grant, man. We talked about everything. Obviously, his experience in Boston, the way this year went down, splitting time between Dallas and Charlotte, his new home, how he responded to when he first found out about the trade, all of that. It's really, really fun, entertaining conversation. Shout out to Grant Williams for taking the time. And yeah, look forward to that for sure within the next 24 hours, I'd say. Yeah, so it's coming out soon. Grant Williams, Cedric Maxwell podcast, man. You don't want to miss it.
Yeah, subscribe, turn on your notifications. Celtics All Access, CLNS Media. You'll get that podcast right when it comes out. So it's a potential preview to the first round series. If it is decided that it's going to be Cavs Celtics tonight, I'm sure we'll do that over the weekend here as well. But for now, at Celtics practice, has been a practice edition of the Garden Report with Josue Pavon and Bobby Manning. Hey, Bobby Manning here. If you made it this far, you probably enjoyed our video, so subscribe to our channel for all content, hit the bell for notifications, and subscribe to all of our social media platforms at Celtics CLNS.